Oh boy. Hey guys, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. The Muppets. One of the few foundations of childhood. Created in 1955 by Jim Henson, they are the namesake for the Disney media franchise that encompasses films, television shows, music, recording, print publications, and other media associated with the Muppet show's characters today. Henson once stated that the term Muppet has been created as a, portmanteau of the words marionette and puppet, but also claimed that it was actually a word that he had coined himself. The Muppets debuted on television programs like Sam and Friends, which aired locally on WRC-TV in Washington, D.C. from 1955 to 1961. After appearing on skits in several late-night talk shows and advertising commercials during the late 60s, Henson's Muppets began appearing on Sesame Street when the show debuted in 1969. And that's kind of how most kids were introduced to the Muppets, I think. Henson's Muppets have been appearing on... I already talked about that. They became stars on multiple television series and films, including The Muppet Show from 1976 to 1981, The Muppet Movie from 1979, The Great Muppet Caper from 1981, Muppets Take Manhattan from 1984, and The Jim Henson Hour in 1989. After Henson's death in 1990, the Muppets continued their presence in television and cinema with Muppets Tonight in 1996 to 1998, and a series continuation of The Muppet Show and 3 films like Muppet Christmas Carol in 1992, Muppet Treasure Island in 1996, and Muppets from Space in 1999. The former 2 were co-produced with Disney, who sought to acquire the characters since the 1980s, and in 2004, the Walt Disney Company purchased the rights to the Muppets and later formed the Muppet Studios, a division created specifically for managing the Muppets franchise. Later on, Disney underwent an extensive rebranding of the franchise, which began in 2008 in anticipation of the 7th film, known as The Muppets. The film was written by Jason Segel and Nicholas Stoller, and directed by James Bovin. It was released by Walt Disney Pictures on November 23, 2011, and met with critical acclaim and commercial success. Plus, Man or Muppet won Best Original Song. And now, to be honest, when I saw this film in theaters, it kind of reminded me of another reunion movie I've seen a long time ago. Plus, Walter's role as the newest Muppet was a great addition to the story. And in my opinion, this movie deserves 100%. However, the Muppet film I'll be looking at today will be a sequel that blew me away this afternoon. Released on March 21st, 2014, the movie is Muppets Most Wanted. Now, on with the blog. Kermit the Frog and his friends are approached by Dominic Bad Guy to go on a world tour. Unknown to them, this is all part of a sinister plan of Constantine, the world's most dangerous evil frog, to become the greatest thief of all time. After making sure that Kermit is jailed as himself, Constantine impersonates him to use the Muppets tour as cover for his scheme. While Sam Eagle and Inspector Jean-Pierre Napoleon investigate, the Muppets find their boss seems strangely changed, even as Kermit desperately attempts to escape and stop the imposter. Only when Walter, Fozzie, and Animal realize the truth, is there a chance to prevent Constantine from pulling off the crime of the century? Sorry, you'll have to find out for yourself. Yes, I recommend you guys to see this movie. Why? Well, because I truly enjoyed it. I mean, it's almost like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of the Muppets, or maybe the Prince and the Pauper of the Muppets. But I have to admit, it's a much better film than another film that was released around the exact same day. Now, on to Mustang notes, starting with the development of the movie. In March 2012, after the critical and commercial success of the last Muppets film, Walt Disney Studios negotiated a deal with James Bobbin and Nicholas Stroller to direct and write, respectively, an 8th installment. Disney greenlit the film on April 24, 2012. Along with Brian Henson, Bobbin is the only person to have directed the two Muppet films. Writing began in April 2012 after a couple of weeks of outlining. Jason Segel, who was the co-writer and star of the previous film, declined any involvement with the 8th entry, which is disappointing, citing that he had accomplished his ambition of bringing the characters to the forefront with the 2011 film. However, despite this, Bobbin and Stoller quickly began work on the film based on Disney's demands. Taking on the form of a caper, the film was inspired, well, respectively, by the Great Muppet Caper and Muppets Take Manhattan, as well as the Pink Panther and the Thomas Crown Affair. Bobbin said that the film was a tip of the hat at the old-school crime capers of the 1960s, which featured a frog, a pig, a bear, and a dog, along with the usual Muppety mix of mayhem, music, and laughs. Originally commissioned under the title The Muppets Again, principal photography began in January 2013 on London's Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire. Filming also took place at the Tower of London, where Kermit and Miss Piggy get married again, and it's also where I spent my family vacation back in summer of 2010. Additional filming locations in London including Leicester Square, Tower Hill, Richmond Theatre, Wilton's Music Hall, and Freemasons Hall. In addition to the United Kingdom, scenes were also shot in Union Station and on Hollywood Boulevard to recreate the previous film's ending, which was shot in LA. On June 13, 2012, the title of the film was changed from Muppets Again to Muppets Most Wanted. The production design was done by Eve Stewart, who took a tongue-in-cheek approach to each country, setting in while also being influenced by the retro style of crime capers from the 1960s and 1970s. Rachel Philly returned as the costume designer, complying with the wardrobe for both Muppet and human characters, in addition to Philly's own creations. English fashion designer Vivienne Westwood also contributed four outfits for Miss Piggy, while the United States retailer Brooks Brothers created more than 200 items for the male cast. Discussing Miss Piggy's wedding gown, Westwood said it's called the court dress, and it is inspired by the 17th century England royalty and the court of King Charles II. It has been designed in a white pearl sequin fabric made from recycled water bottles. And secondly, the musical score for Muppets Most Wanted was composed by Christoph Beck, with additional songs by Brett McKenzie. The movie features 6 original songs by McKenzie, as well as re-recordings of contemporary music and past Muppet songs, including Together Again, from the Muppets Take Manhattan. Some of the other songs in the film reminded me of some songs I knew from great stage musicals, like shows like Little Shop of Horrors, Les Miserables, and several others. Okay, now that I'm done with Mustang notes, let's move on to the cast of this film, starting with the human actors. Okay, starting with Ricky Gervais as Dominic the Lemur Bad Guy. Gervais' role as Dominic, he's consistently Constantine's henchman with dubious intentions that is posing as the CEO and international talent manager of Bad Guy Talent Management. His last name is actually pronounced Badji, which is French pronunciation, which I suck at doing, though. Like, I find this guy kind of a hilarious sidekick of a villain. And also, like, he did cameo in the last Muppets film as himself once, in case you didn't know. Now, for Jean-Pierre Napoleon, he was originally going to be played by Christoph Waltz. However, unfortunately, Waltz dropped out due to scheduling conflicts and was replaced by Ty Burrell. Now, Napoleon is a French Interpol inspector who works with Sam Eagle on finding Constantine. And now, about Burrell, I've already explained to you guys on my Mr. Peabody and Sherman blog, so you already know how great of an actor Burrell is. And like his partnership with Sam can be a little hilarious when it involves driving together or investigating together. And our last human lead, Nadia, is played by Tina Fey. Now, you may know Tina as Sosuke's mother Lisa in Hayao Miyazaki's Ponyo, or Roxanne in Megamind. Her role as Nadia is like, she's like a Russian gulag prison guard who is an avid fan of Kermit the Frog. And for some reason, like, I just kind of love the Russian accent Tina gives Nadia. And sometimes she can be a little bit funny at times. Now on to the Muppet performers. So, to be honest, the guys who play each, they provide like more than one voice apiece. Steve Whitmire plays Kermit the Frog, Link Hofthrob, the Newsman, Foo-Foo, Miss Piggy's dog, Rizzo the Rat, Beaker, and Statler. Eric Jacobson plays Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Sam Eagle, and Animal. Dave Goletz is the Great Gonzo, Dr. Buns the Honeydew, Waldorf, and Zoot. Bill Beretta plays Ralph the Dog, Dr. Teeth, Pepe the King Prawn, Swedish Chef, Bobo the Bear. And David Rudman plays Scooter and Janice. And also we have Peter Lintz as Walter. And our last Muppet performer, Matt Vogel, plays Floyd Pepper, Robin the Frog, who is actually Kermit's nephew, Camilla the Chicken, Crazy Harry, New Zealand, Sweetums, and also, you're not going to believe this, but he also voices our main villain, Constantine. Now, to be honest, Constantine is hilarious, but he's almost like mostly every doppelganger is like in most every film. I mean, like, he's like the darker version of Kermit, and he's willing to, well, he wasn't a bad villain, but his role as a villain does separate him from other villains who are in Muppet films like Doc Hopper, or Nikki Holiday, or Tex Richmond. And he does, like, make it, like, Constantine is pretty threatening, though, like, especially when he has to work with Dominic. And lastly, like most of the other Muppet films, this movie does have some cameos. Here, I'm not going to explain who they play, but I will list the cameos that are on the top of my head who is the most recognizable. We have Tony Bennett, Hugh Bonneville, Celine Dion, Dexter Fletcher, Lady Gaga, Josh Groban, Salma Hayek, Tom Hiddleston, James McAvoy, Bridget Medler, Chloe Grace Moretz, Miranda Richardson, Debbie Ryan, Danny Trejo, Stanley Tucci, and Usher. So now on to my final words of the movie. Above all, Muppets Most Wanted has to be a must-watch for all Muppet fans. The songs are fantastic, all the Muppet characters are fun, the cameos are interesting, and the villain Constantine is really hilarious. However, I can't really guarantee that it's as good as most Muppet films I've seen already. But if you guys are Muppet fans, go see it. You should go see it. You'll be in for quite a good time. I give this film a rating of 95%. Oh, and be sure to catch the Monsters University short that plays before the movie. You'll not be disappointed. Well, that's all for now, people. Now I got plans to do before I get ready for my next blog. Mustang Power.